guys, Marmalade here for Q&A number 24. So 5 months doing this. Pretty awesome. It's flown by for me. Hope you've enjoyed it and learned some things along the way. And let's get to the question number 1 right away. So first question comes from Felipe Ricketts. How are you doing, Felipe? Nice to hear from you. He had asked me, have you ever considered windbreakers with arm or pit zips? I use one for hiking and it seems to help a lot with letting out moisture. So yes, I have, and I'm gonna look and see if I have some pictures here or not. The Outdoor Research rain jacket that I'm replacing, that I had out on my thru hike, was a medium, kind of heaviest weight one, and I thought it would do well. It had pit zips, and I know how they work, and that's why part of why I picked it. The overall weight of the thing was too heavy, and I found out that in Washington, no matter how much it rains, eventually no matter what you have is going to soak through. But ventilation is good. When you're trying to go lighter, which I'm trying to do and get everything smaller and lighter, one of the negatives to a lot of the jackets are the more zippers you have, the more weight. I am interested in, it's kind of pricey, and I'm not sure if they're getting a new one or if it's going, if it's not going to be carried anymore at REI, but they have the Outdoor Research Helium 2 jacket. It's pretty pricey. It was full price, about $175 there. It's on sale right now. I actually probably should order one. It's on sale for quite a bit. I don't know, they don't have them in the store either anymore, and they normally carry them because I was just in there in my local one. But yeah, I'm thinking that's a pretty good one. It weighs literally about 7 ounces for like a double XL size, which is my size. I want to make sure it goes over my puffy and everything. And it's like 7-8 ounces, something like that. And it's on sale, so I'm going to try that, but I'm trying to find something light like that that has pit zips. If not, I have a Frog Togs new ultralight jacket they have that's about 30 bucks that I'll be doing a review on pretty soon, and it's a little bit more advanced than their normal basic generic one they sell. So I'll be doing one of those soon, so you can check that out. So I'm still undecided on that, but I'm definitely going lighter. I want it to be rainproof, I want it to be comfortable, I want it to vent some, yes. But in the long run, if it's pouring all day and you're hiking, you're going to soak through anyway, and that's what I learned. So I might as well go light and thin and just not take up a lot of my pack. Right, question number 2 is from Terry Savini. Terry, do you have a favorite hiker town? Now this is interesting because, as you guys know, if you've been watching my video, I didn't complete my thru hike. I got 903 miles in, so I did all the desert and half of Washington. My favorite hiker town so far is one I was actually in yesterday, that I'm getting ready to edit a film that I went hiking with my buddy Robert yesterday, but up in Idlewild. It's just the greatest town. I'm gonna also look in some of my old video clips of when I was on my thru hike of what I did there. If not, I just was there and took a few pictures, so I'll try to show you. But they have a San Jacinto State Park. You can camp there. Hikers can camp there $5 a night if you just want to camp in your tent. They have hotels there. They have a gear shop, Nomad Adventures. Amazing food there. They have a coffee shop. That's where I got coffee and uploaded a lot of my videos at that point on my hike. I think I was on day 10 or 11. Idlewild's about mile marker 179.4 or something like that. So early on in the hike, but very, very welcoming to hikers. Very cool, funky place. Bunch of restaurants, like I said there. A lot of places to resupply. So very good at a nice first or second zero on the trail, but a nice first trail town. And for me, it just feels comfortable. Maybe it's because I've gone there for a long time, but I also I've only done a third of the trail. So we will see if there's a favorite town that exceeds that one. But right now, I would say Idlewild, California. All right, our next question is from Paul Howcroft. Paul asked me, it's kind of a disjointed question, but I'll try to, I think I understand what he's asking. Gear essentials when starting out at Campo, so starting on the southern border when you're heading north. What not to forget, what isn't necessary, things like that. And then he put in parentheses like knowledge of where water sources are, easy resupply at Lake Marina and Mount Laguna. So I think he's saying is when you first get started, what was essential that you have or don't have. So it's kind of weird. I mean, I consider myself pretty experienced when I first started my hike, and there were still things I brought, I got rid of, and things I got later, just things like that. And you really won't know what you do and don't need till you actually get out there and are doing it every single day. Most people don't create that ahead of time, so they really have no clue. It's just a guessing game. So some of this is hard to tell you an exact answer, but I will say, being smart, people, I think, as they say, you pack for your fears. You bring a lot of weight for you might carry. Like I tended, when I was new at this, to carry too much clothes, too much food, and too much water. You have to live with water, so if you err on the high side with water, that's not dumb at all. But when you first start out, I think the main thing is to understand and even look ahead of time how much, where the water is, depending on every year. Last year was a high water year. I think this year water will be flowing pretty good early on. But there's water at the mile marker of 4.4. So I saw people with 5 and 6 liters trying to get, carrying the water they needed all the way to Lake Marina, which is mile marker 20. So they're carrying all the water they need for 20 miles, which is ridiculous. You're brand new into your through hike. Most people are not in that kind of shape yet and don't know what it's like physically and mentally yet. So I brought 1 liter. I walked the 4.4 miles because I generally drink 1 liter for every 4 miles. And it wasn't particularly hot, so I just carried 1 liter, so my pack was much lighter. And at mile marker 4.4, myself and Robert, who was hiking with me, got the water to get me to Hauser Creek, which is at the 15.4 mile. So I only need water from 4.4 to 15.4. So I just carried about 2.5 liters, something like that, to get me to the camp. And I knew because of gut hooks that there was water flowing. So you have to check when you're at a water source, or even before you get to it, where's the next water from there, and just carry the right amount. Carry a little extra if you're dry camping and there's no creek there and you need water for, I like water, you need water for, let's say, to cook your dinner if you do that, but I like to have some water in my tent just to sip on a night and kind of rehydrate from the day before, so I'm well hydrated each day. So I would carry extra water if it was dry camping for that night at my camp, and to get me to wherever the next water is the next day. But be smart about water, like pay attention and don't just blindly just carry as much as you can. You're doing yourself a disservice. And so be wise on the water, where it is, and you need to learn how much water you drink per mile. Like I drink 1 liter for every 4 miles. It's more water if it's hot, less water if it's cold. So learn that ahead of time, know that. Also, what I did, because that's in my backyard, the first 100 and something miles is in my area where I hike. I brought food for, I planned 15 miles a day, which would be in 3 days would be 45 miles. Well, that's at Mount Laguna. So I just carried 3 days of food, and I shipped myself a small box of 4 days of food at Mount Laguna, which is at mile marker 43. There's a post office there, so I sent a small box of 4 days of food from there. Averaging 15 miles a day, I would be at Warner Springs in 4 more days. So I carried 3 days of food. I knew I'd get to Warner Springs in 7 days, so I carried 3 days of food to Mount Laguna, shipped myself 4 more days of food there, getting to Warner Springs, and I actually set my next box to Warner Springs, getting myself to Idlewild, which I figured was about 3.5, 4 days. I actually wasn't exactly sure, but anyway, so I did that, and it's kind of weird because I didn't really ship myself many boxes, but I had 2 boxes right in the first 110 miles. So there's places to buy food. I just was trying to save a little money and have in my packages what I wanted, at least to start out with, so that's why I did it. So so just be, is what you said, just be smart about, and it's really the whole trail, but first starting out, to make yourself successful to start, is don't carry too much water, don't carry too much food. Some people carry 7 days of food all the way to Warner Springs. In Mount Laguna at the mile marker 20, there's a fully stocked store, and that's like on your 2nd day or 3rd day or whatever. The shop, it's got amazing supplies for you guys here. So if you need food, you do not need to bring a bunch of food to start the trail with. It's got everything here. These guys are fully stocked up in here. They have amazing, probably besides Paradise Style Cafe, has the best burger and pizza around. And you can resupply there if you need to buy in a store. At Mount Laguna, there's a store. You don't have to ship yourself a package like I did. So it's just being wise and knowing, research ahead of time and get a good start to not carry too much water and food early on, because that's your 2 heaviest things. All right, our next question is from Hung Farlow. He asked, did you observe many thru hikers carrying hip beltless, frameless packs on your thru hike? Were there many super ultralight hikers last year? So that is the trend, but and if you don't know what that is, a couple things. The super ultralighters are literally under 10 pounds. They're like, 7, 8 pounds is their whole pack. And when they're on the trail, it looks literally like a day pack. And you know, those of us that carry big packs are jealous, but I'm not jealous of their being uncomfortable, because what they carry is good for about 75–80% of the time, but it's not good when it's exceptionally cold, especially, or wet, things like that. They're okay if it's warm, but they generally carry a minimum. They don't really carry shelter a lot of times, or they might carry a very small one-man shelter, but a lot of times it's just a tarp to put over themselves if it rains. But they sleep, a lot of times, don't even have an air mattress. They sleep on the ground on plastic, and they don't even have, like, the one thing that the savior for my tent was the bug net to keep the bugs and the mosquitoes off of me. A lot of times they don't have that. They sleep on a plastic on the ground, and then they hang their tarp over them if it's going to be a bad weather night. So there's pluses and minuses to it. You can go much faster and farther with a pack like that. You're not carrying as much weight, of course, so things are easy. The negative to it, and I've actually considered it, so one of the most popular packs right now out there is by Palante, and I'll show you a picture of it right here, I think it's the V2. And actually my hiking partner, Lady Bruce, this year, she has one of those, and she showed it to me. It's pretty awesome, but it has just a shoulder strap like a day pack. It does have a very thin, it's tucked in, but it does have a waist belt if you need it, but it's very thin. And the only negative to that is if you cannot get your base weight down light enough, those packs cannot handle a lot of weight because there's not enough support on the waist belt and all that like my pack has. Mine says a max weight of 35 pounds. Well, I carry last year about 15 pounds in my pack, and then when I added about 10 pounds of food and 10 pounds of water, that was at 35 pounds. And then what do you do when you get to the Sierras and you have a bear canister and your crampons and maybe an ice axe, and you carry extra days of food? There's a couple times where some people carry up to 10 days of food. So you max over that. My pack, as I've had it too heavy like once or twice, and it is uncomfortable, but it's still doable. But those ultralight packs cannot handle heavy weight. So what do you do if you have 8-pound base weight with all your stuff, but you have to have a long carry of water and food, which happens a lot? You just, I guess, you're in pain and you're uncomfortable. So it's pluses and minuses to it. There's no wrong or right. I'm just getting smart. I'm getting lighter and smaller and more compact. It'll get me probably a smaller backpack, but I'm still not going to go to that super ultralight. But to answer your question too, I did see a bunch out there, but not a lot. I would say maybe 1 out of 10, maybe not even that ratio. Maybe 1 out of every 15 or 20 I saw it was like that. But that's a good question, and it's kind of the way some of the backpacking is going. But it's more for people that can crush miles and do huge miles and can get further down the trail faster. Okay, our last question is from Bobby Gator. In the first 700 miles of the trail through the desert, do you recommend microspikes, crampons, or even an ice axe? So obviously, this last year we had the winter right before last year. It was El Nino, so we had exceptional amount of snow. Exceptional. It was a record year. So that obviously depends year to year, but I would say even in the desert, you're going to want to carry microspikes in some of the areas. So what I did was I didn't bring them the whole way because I didn't want to carry the 2 pounds the whole way, but I shipped them to myself. I shipped them to Warner Springs, was at mile 110, and I carried them for a couple days knowing there'd be no snow, but that got me 2.5 days. I was starting to get into high mountains above San Jacinto and Idlewild. So I had them for that. It was excessive amount of snow, and there's some places that I sincerely feel that it might have saved my life. I'm gonna look on my video and see if I have some pictures of Apache Creek, but it's a new 7-mile section that was been closed for about 8 years because of a fire, and they finally opened it this last year. And it's like when you leave Paradise Valley Cafe at mile marker 151 and you're going up towards the mountains above Idlewild. The last 7 miles were closed, and you had to go up there and then take a side trail down and hitchhike in, and you had to skip those 7 miles. Well, it was open, and holy smokes was it dangerous. So not only was it freshly open trail, but there was about 3 spots, I can't remember exactly, and I'm hoping I can find a picture or video of it, where I had my trail crampons, which are spikes that are hooked onto my shoes, but I didn't have an ice axe, and I had my poles, but literally it was so steep and so far down that if I had slipped and I lost my footing, I was gone. And I'm not exaggerating. There's 2 or 3 spots like that. So other places you would fall and maybe just slide 20 feet and not get hurt. But put our marker spikes on. That's where we came from. We're heading up that way. On these eastern side, that's where the snow still hasn't melted in a lot of spots. We're going slow and steady. was very dangerous, but so they came in handy there right before Idlewild, and then when I took a zero, got back on trail, and that's where I actually got shin splints. But we did the next 11 miles up high at about 9,000 feet over to Fuller Ridge above Idlewild, and because of the snow levels, it was ridiculous. I was post-holding after my waist. It took 9 hours to go 11 miles to get to camp and wore me out, and then when I hiked down the next day, that's when I got shin splints. So that's how badly it beat me up. But I had my microspikes, which helped a lot. And then I kept them the whole way. I got up to Big Bear. I need them at Big Bear, and you need them at Wrightwood. You need them at Mount Baden-Powell above, Wrightwood. You need them up there. And you actually, it depends on when you go too. So it depends on the snow level. And if you go later in the year, you might still need them, but you just have to check gut hooks, and it'll tell you ahead of time. So I think in the desert you want, but after you get past Wrightwood and Mount Baden-Powell, you really don't need them because there's no more super high peaks that technically will have snow. You might hit a patch once in a while, but also it's getting later in the spring and into summer, so stuff is melting. So we did see some snow after I got rid of my microspikes, but it's very minimal. I just took my time and kind of walked through it, and by then it's been pretty melted and there's footsteps, so it's pretty easy. So yeah, I think it's just year to year. Of course, you got to check the weather and then check gut hooks, but it's kind of weird when the season first starts until people start leaving comments that are going early. You really have no idea how the snow levels are, so it's kind of a crapshoot. But if you're on the fence, I would just bring them, and you have to carry another pound or two for your microspikes, but at least you're safe. All right, guys, that does it for Q&A number 24. 5 months. It's hard to believe, man. It's flown by. It doesn't feel like it at all, but I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. I hope you have too. Any suggestions on what you want to hear about or see? I love questions. Last week I didn't get many questions. I've been getting a lot, and last week I didn't hardly get any. So love some more questions. Bring those on, and let me know if there's any special thing you want to know question-wise, or maybe gear review. I'm getting ready to do some gear reviews now, so break it up a little bit. I'm also feeling better. I feel like with the CBD I've been taking, by the way, I'm probably close to 75–80% better. So I still have some pretty severe achy joints, but it's slowly going away. So that's great news. So I'm going to continue taking it for a while, and I'm hoping this is the cure without having to go to do Western medicine and do all that and chase it around and spend a ton of money. So hopefully I can get back to 100% and be able to hike, especially this summer. So thank you for watching and following along and supporting me. Again, please go to my Patreon account if you haven't already, and it's just patreon.com. Look for Mike Marmalade Lawrence. And if you can even donate up to $1 a month, that'd be great. It helps support me and it helps me get some of the gear I need to continue on. Also, go to my merch site. I'm going to put the link below for both Patreon and my merch site, but go check it out. You can get really cool, some clothing, different for men's and women, things like that, even cell phone cases and coffee mugs, things like that. You can get my Marmalade logo on that. That also helps me get some of the gear and get towards getting back on trail with some of the stuff that I want to get. And that's about it for now. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, we'll see you down the trail.